Welcome everyone to this Learning Lab, Make Things Happen, Collaborative Tools for Green Team Organizing. I am Collier Braun-Greiner, Program Coordinator with Interfaith Partners for the Chesapeake. This program is part of the Faithful Green Leaders Training, and all people are welcome to attend, but it's continuing education for those who have attended the Green Leaders Training. I'd like to begin by sharing some reflections about collaboration from some folks whose names you might recognize. From Helen Keller, alone we can do so little, together we can do so much. And from Mother Teresa, none of us, including me, can ever do great things, but we can all do small things with great love. We can do something wonderful. And from Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. May God guide us as we join our hearts and hands together, bringing healing to the earth. Amen. So a little bit of an overview, what we're going to cover during this webinar before I introduce our speaker. We're going to look at some scheduling tools about how you can get your team organized for success. We'll look at Doodle Poll and Sign Up Genius, and we'll have demonstrations of each of these. And following each tool, we'll invite you to ask your question about that tool. So we'll open it up for Q&A at that juncture after each tool is presented. The second part will be about communication and organization tools, including Google Groups, Google Drive, Google Docs, and Google Forms. And all of these are tools that can help you send information to your team, store files and share documents, and also sharing those grant applications that you're drafting so you can all see the same document in common. And Google Forms about creating a survey to test enthusiasm for a project or evaluate an event. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Cynamon Butler, a marketing and communications specialist and currently serving as communications manager of the Chesapeake Bay Trust. And so I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Cynamon.
Good evening, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Can you give me a thumbs up? That's what they do in the school systems, the at-home learning. That's what I've noticed. Okay, wonderful. I'm so excited to be with you guys. My name is Cynamon Butler. I'm at the Chesapeake Bay Trust. If you've never heard of the Chesapeake Bay Trust, just look on the back of a car. You'll see a license plate that says Protect the Chesapeake. It has a little crab. That's the newest one. And then we have some other ones with the beautiful blue heron birds. And so I'm so thankful to be here tonight, this evening, and I'm so glad that you are able to join us. As Collier said, I do have some experience with marketing and communications, and I was also the director of missions at Woods Memorial Presbyterian Church in Severna Park, Maryland. So some of the tools that I'm going to show you are actually tools that I used pre-COVID, and some of the other tools are things that I've used a little bit more, I would say, after COVID, but they could be used at any point in time. Hopefully we will get to some similar times when we can all gather together in person a little bit more safely. One day. It'll happen one day. Anyway, so to start, and remember, we're going to stop briefly after each topic. There are six topics to answer any questions, but I do want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I might not be able to get to everybody's question, and I might not know all of the questions that you might have. I will try my best to answer them from my experience using these tools and why I like them. So to get started, let's start with Doodle Poll. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's hope this works. Does everybody see this doodle.com/dashboard? Can you give me a thumbs up if you do see it? Okay, at least somebody sees it, so wonderful. So Doodle Poll has kind of changed slightly. I feel like they're trying to get people to pay for it, but it is still free. Free, as in the commercial. That's one of my favorite things. Doodle Poll is a wonderful tool to use to figure out when the best availability is for everybody. So I'm logged in here, and you can just go to doodle.com to sign up for an account. Like I said, they're going to make it seem like you have to pay, and you don't have to pay. You can just start and create a poll. So as you can see, I'm going to do this group poll right here. And let's say I want to find out, we're going to have a meeting to figure out when we're going to plant a pollinator garden. For my group. So I can add a location and I can add a note, but those are optional. Then I'm going to hit, oh, the thing with the free version is you do have all of these ads. So if you do have a paid version, you won't see the ads, but I just ignore them. So you could connect the calendar to it. And so basically what I would do first is put in what my availability is to meet. And then, let's see. I don't think I have to worry about the time zone unless you are across time zones. So like, let's say I'm just going to give an example for Friday, September 3rd. Let's say it's only one day that we can meet, but I'm going to choose different times. You can click, oops. Uh-oh.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay. And then if you wanted a particular time frame, so anywhere, well, hopefully we won't be meeting this early in the morning, 12:15 a.m. to 6 p.m. You can click on that. I have two screens open, so I'm not sure if the other one is going to a different screen. And you can put in the times that you're available. Oh, actually, I know what it is. Let's move this down to a more realistic time. So let's say we're going to meet from 9, possibly from 9 to 11, but I have something to do at 11, so I'm not going to do another time. Let's say I can meet between 12 and 2, and then I can't meet at 2, but I can meet from 3 to 5. And then I'm going to hit continue. So those, you put in the availability that you have, and then you can send it out to other people, and then they can choose and select what times they're available. So maybe that first time they're not available, but another person is. You can also customize everything, or you can just leave it as it is. And then here, I can enter in the email. So if you have an email list, you can just copy and paste it into here, and then you can send it to those people, and then they will receive this poll, and then they can take the poll and let you know. At the end, after everybody's selected, you'll see which one has the most people that are available during that time, and then you can select that time where the majority of people, and hopefully everybody, is able to attend whatever event it is that you're trying to have or to host. So that's basically everything whenever it comes to Doodle Poll. Like I said, there's different versions of it. The paid version, it offers you a little bit more customization, but I think the free version does pretty much everything that you need. You don't have to do a particular day. You could also try to figure out what's the best time during the week that you and your group wants to meet.
Cynamon, I was just wanted to note that sometimes I prefer to just make a link, and just scroll back up and you can see the option where you can choose to get a link. Yeah, that's another way of doing it.
Yes, so sometimes it can be a little cumbersome trying to figure out people's email addresses if you can't remember it. So if you want to just type the link and then maybe go to your email and then send it to the person, you can just copy and paste that link right here and copy it, or hit Control-C and then paste it into your email and then share it with everybody. That's pretty much it about Doodle Poll. Are there any questions?
I don't see any in the chat. Does anybody just want to unmute themselves if they have a question about that? it's a great scheduling tool for events, for meetings, for projects, as Cynamon gave this great example.
If you connect the calendar, your personal, does everybody see that, or is that just so you can make sure you don't do conflicting?
Only you see it, and it's just to make sure that you don't see or get conflicting schedules.
Okay.
Yeah, they
And
can't see
then-
what else is on your calendar.
We just did one recently for something and somebody didn't put in their last name, and we had said, hey, forward this email around to people. And, you know, then we worried that we didn't capture emails because they don't allow that. But I think if you do the closing and then close the poll, it will contact people. Is that a true statement?
I know that you can email the people that have actually already, I think, been invited to send out what the final.
Oh, well, we did the copy thing, just like
Okay, copy the link.
copy the link, because I don't like putting anybody's emails in another third-party app kind of thing. But then, you know, we had told people, hey, forward it to your friends to see if anybody else wants to be part of this. And we realized but I think when you close the poll and does it send?
Well, if you don't, oh, sorry.
I don't know. I think it's sent to people who filled it out. I think it sent it to them. The poll's closed. This is the date, directly from Doodle, but I'm not sure.
I think it depends on how you did it. So I think for the most part, you can do that. And I have to figure out too if it's whenever you have a free version versus a paid version, but I think you can do that. But I will try to look that up. Let me write that down and follow back up to see for sure. Do you know, Kolya?
Yeah. I think it only sends them if you've typed their email address in it. Certainly the host does. And when I've set up a meeting, the host does get announcements, but otherwise you have to put either insert their email or send them the link and then update them when you're ready to close it. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing, because we didn't capture emails, you know, particularly like one person just put their name in.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure who it was, but we think it sent it, but I didn't fill it out, so I never got one.
Oh. Well, is there any other questions? Thank you very much. That was a good question. About Doodle Poll, or shall we move on to the?
Yeah, I was wondering if there's a problem with it going into people's junk mail.
There could be. So there's a lot of reasons why something would go into a person's junk mail or their spam filter. It might be that other people are receiving an email from this particular organization, Doodle, and they're marking it as spam or they're unsubscribing from it. So there's a ton of different reasons, but, and then some people have, I guess, stronger filters in what they allow to come through into their emails. So yes, it is possible for it to go to their junk mail or their spam, unfortunately.
Hi, this is Sharon Clark. And I put in the chat, when I get a Doodle poll request, usually there's a place for each person to add the name, then check off the best time. So does that mean it's come to me because somebody sent it to my email address, right?
Yeah, that means you have received it.
Yes.
So in order to send a Doodle poll, I would have to put in the email addresses, but it doesn't show when I get it. So we don't have to worry about giving away somebody's email address, I guess.
No, you can send it from your own email address. You don't have to send it through the Doodle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before. This link right here, you can just hit this copy button, and in your own personal email or the email that you're using to communicate with people, just paste the link into that email. So the other participant was saying that she doesn't like to put the emails in this part right here because it's a third party, and I guess for security purposes. So whatever you feel comfortable with is completely fine.
Yeah.
So either or works just well. I think to me it's easier to probably use the copy and paste feature because sometimes trying to have people's emails handy might be a little tougher. Yeah. Okay, so let's do, oops. The only thing whenever I'm sharing is I see, there we go. So we did doodle poll. The next communication tool, and like I said, these two tools I used before COVID. So whether you're meeting in person or meeting virtually, it still works really well. So for the signups, or for Sign Up Genius, I'm logged in here, and then there's a free version. The paid version is the one you don't see all these ads, but you're just going to create a sign up. And then also, if somebody else has sent you a request for Sign Up Genius, you'll also see the ones that you've been invited to. So I think this particular account that I'm using right now, it doesn't have any recent ones, but I have used it multiple times. So let me move my, sometimes it's hard for me to see. There we go. So you're going to create a sign up. So for example, oops, I guess I gotta log in. And all of this will be available in the recording, as well as I'm going to send you a link to a document that has, good, I remember my password, that has the links that I'm using today, as well as some support and guidance that you can find if you have more questions. So let's say we're trying to find, we have a particular activity and we need different volunteer positions, or we might need different schedules or different people to sign up for different times. Those are like some great times or great tools that you can use right now for Sign Up Genius. So for example, I don't know if you've heard of Winter Relief. The church that I used to work for, we did Winter Relief, and then I don't really worry about all the other stuff. There we go, save and continue. And so here you can put down the available time slots and then how many slots that you need. You can also add different dates. So we did Winter Relief for 1 week at a time. This is just an example. And we needed people to be there overnight, and we needed people to be there in the morning and people to be there in the evening. So you can actually sort it by the date. Up here, you can see the different formats that you can do. For us, it was easier to do the dates because we had various dates for people to sign up. Over here, you can see different slots. So maybe it's a particular, let's say you're planting a pollinator garden and you need people to, or maybe you've already planted the pollinator garden and you need people to weed the garden. So weeding can go right here in the available slot, and then people can do it on particular days during the times that you've set up. So you can set up here the format that you want. I'm just going to pick one, and then you're going to hit save and continue. Oops. Please correct the following issues, assign at least one date. There we go. So I'm just going to pick a random date, and then I can pick the time and the location and hit add. And then I can continue to add dates if I need to, or add more slots. So if it's just for one day that you're doing something, then you might add more slots. But if it's something that you're continuing over a particular time frame, then you can add more dates. And then you're gonna hit save and continue. I guess I need more than one. Oh, I didn't hit slots. There we go. I'm just making up something. You can also put over here, like if you have something and people may or may not understand what it is that you have, you can also put in a comment. And then you can also put the number of people that you need for that particular slot that you're wanting. And then you can hit save and add another, or you can just hit save. There we go. Then whenever you send the form, you can ask them for certain things, or you can make it required or optional. So you probably do want to know who is signing up for the event that you have. I would recommend having the email as well. That way you can communicate with them in case you don't already know who they are, especially if it's, you know, your group is, your congregation group is meeting and an announcement is made. somebody that you don't know might sign up. So you definitely want to have their contact information. And then to me, I think it's good to have, the ability to add a comment. That way if somebody has questions, they can also add it. So then you're just going to hit save and continue. And then you can publish it and make it live. And then once it's live, you can invite people, you can share it on social media, and you can put it on your website. So here is where, before when we're talking about copying the link, right here, you can also just copy the link and then put it into your email. That way everybody can figure out where to go. That way you don't have to worry about figuring out exactly everybody's email address that you're trying to send it to. Also, it's a great way, like if you have announcements, then you can also have the link that people can go to sign up for the particular event that you have going on. So that's basically how it goes. And then once you get all that information, when people start to sign up for the different time slots or whatever the volunteer slots are, then you can also message the group, which is really nice in this particular feature. Because like I said, you might have people that sign up for something that you don't know who they are, unless you have a smaller group. But depending on what you're using it for, you can send messages to the people that have signed up.
Cinnamon, this is Sharon again. I apologize, but I'm very linear in my thinking. When you say copy and paste to my email, do you mean copy the link and send it to my email address?
No. So what I mean is, you see this button right here that says copy link?
I do. Yeah.
So I'm just going to click it. And so I'll copy the link. And then I'm going to go to my email. I'm going to compose an email. And I'm going to send it to Colia. And I'm going to say, winner sign up.
Okay.
And then I'm going to hit Control V as a shortcut for paste. Or you can right click and hit paste. And then I'm going to send it. So that's what I mean by you can send it to an email. So if you have people's emails, then you can just type it in your own personal email and then paste the link. You might want to say a little something about what it is instead of just leaving the link. So
okay. That helps. Thank you.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Are there any other questions about Sign Up Genius? I think it really helps to get you really organized.
Up to how many people we can invite in that sign up? Is there a limitation?
I don't know that there is a limitation. I know for us, whenever we used, the biggest one that we used it for was for Winter Relief. And we had, oh gosh, I don't know how many different volunteers that signed up. But the limitation might be in the number of slots per sign up that you have. I think that's where your limitation might be.
We use this for with our PTA for the after prom party, and we had hundreds of volunteers on all different sessions, and it worked fine.
Okay, that's good to know.
I have just a quick clarification. You can take this copy link and you can put it on a website, so you could then, or Facebook, social media, and say, if you want to volunteer, click on this link?
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, we included in our e-news, like our church e-news, if we're having an event where we need people to, staff or bring food. Actually, we have Winter Haven or similar, so we need people to bring items and slots. So there's a list of items to bring, and so they're all laid out in a giant Sign Up Genius.
Yeah, that's a good idea too. We also used it for we donated backpacks to youth, and so we had like certain number of backpacks for certain grades, and so but we wanted to make sure that everybody was covered, so we had used Sign Up Genius to make sure that enough people signed up for each child, or we actually did it by grade. So 50 people for first grade, and then maybe 20 for another grade. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways. If you're having your own personal event, you can also use it for if different people are bringing different things. That's a great way to also use Sign Up Genius. Okay, so it's almost 7:30. I'm going to go ahead and move on to our communication and organization tools. So we went over 2 of the scheduling tools that I like to use, and then the last 4 are mainly Google tools. So Google is a very popular. I would be surprised if there's somebody that has never heard of Google before on this call. And it's a great way to communicate and facilitate communication between groups. So the 4 different ones that I'm going to go through are Google Groups, Google Drive, Google Docs, and Google Forms. There's way more apps or applications than that, but these are the ones that I'm just going to go to. So to start, I personally prefer and have a Gmail account for my own personal email. Whenever you're using these tools, you can have a different email, but to me, it works best whenever you have a Gmail account. It's free and easy to create a Gmail account. You get 15 megabytes of storage whenever you create a free account. There are paid accounts, so if you own your own business, you can use the Google suite of apps that are a little bit more customizable if you want to use that. But I think a free account is pretty much all that you really need. So the first one we're going to talk about is Google Groups. So whenever I'm in my Gmail, whoops, that's not my Gmail. Let's close that. Whenever I'm in my Gmail, one way that you can go to your Google Groups is by clicking over here on these Google apps. And actually, you can see all of these different apps that show up. And Google Groups actually isn't up here, but you have to click on more from Google. Or you can also go to groups.google.com if you happen to remember that. Oops, did it come up?
It's not showing up.
That's okay. I'll type it in. So here is where you can create groups. And also, I guess to me, it's a good way to get everybody on the same page and to collaborate with a specific group. So you can create a group over here and you can name it what you want to name it. And the cool part over here is you have a group email. So whenever you use your own personal email account and you want to email the entire group, you can just use this group email and you email everybody. You don't have to worry about if you completely forgot so-and-so that was supposed to be a part of this group. You make sure that you are emailing the entire group. So you can create the group. Like I said,
It's not showing up.
Oh, it's not. Let's stop my share and then let's try to share again.
I saw it fine. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one.
I'm not seeing anything.
Well, right now it's off.
Yeah, I took it off.
I saw it before.
Okay.
Yeah,
See it now.
there, it looks fine.
Okay.
Okay.
How do you create a group of various people in emails? Where does that step come in?
Like adding the people into the group.
Uh-huh.
So people can you see over here, let me come out. So you can send the link out to everybody and people can join the group. And then people can also, let's see, let me go and type it.
Right, but a step before that, you said send it out to everybody. What is that? How do you get everybody?
So you can invite people to be a part of the group. So you can also keep it a closed group. So only certain people can actually join your group, which I would probably recommend unless it's, a group that you don't mind a lot of people being a part of.
Right.
So this is not going to let me do it. Oh, did you have something?
Yeah,
Toya, that you were gonna
I
say?
was just going to say, well, you would send them to the link to this group, right? And that's in your own email, an invitation to join the group. Is that correct?
Yes. I'm trying to see. Because I'm not part of any groups with this. I have several email addresses.
Mhm.
This is the one that
Yeah.
that I'm using right now because it's a little bit clearer, one of my latest ones that I just created. So you
I
can
thought
also
you had
share.
to, I thought you had to The owner of the group has to put the emails in, and you have to write them if you want it to join the group. Is that not?
Yes, that's the owner who created it sends the link to them to invite them.
Okay. But if a
Yes.
list is already created and you weren't invited, you have to ask the host if you find out about it later that you want to join it.
Yes, we have a great example of that. And then we have the One Water Partnership regional Google groups. And so if you want to be a part of one of those, Bonnie, would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say a couple things. So when you set up your group, there's all different types of privacy settings that you get to decide how you want your group to be set up. So you can set it up so that it is searchable. So if someone is just on Google Groups, they can search for your group. And if you set your setting that it's public, then anybody can find you and then request to join your group. But if it's, if it's just your green team and you're trying to just set up your green team and you know who all those people are, you can either invite them, but very often what I do, like with all you wonderful folks, when you tell us, oh, I want to be a member of the One Water Partnership Google group, as the owner of the group, I can directly add you to the group. So I can skip that whole step of you trying to figure out how to accept an invitation and just add you. And then I always send an instruction with that says, if you can always remove yourself. If you get added to a group and you don't want to be a part of the group, you can always remove yourself from the group. Or I just tell people, a lot of times people say, take me off the group, and they'll just send me an email and then I'll just take them out of the group. So that's how we've been using Google Groups for the different One Water Partnership regions. But I really recommend for your green teams to set up a group, because I know when I led my green team, people come on, people come off, and it's really hard to keep track. If you just like reply, if you reply all to an email and someone got left off of it in the first place, and then they continue to be left off that list. If you learn how to use the groups, it's really easy. It's better. It's just easier to make sure that you've included everybody every time you've sent an email.
Great. Thanks, Bonnie.
Yep.
It's just a concrete example we have in the room.
Yes.
Go ahead, Cinnamon.
Okay, was there anything else for Google Groups or questions? I just think it's a really great tool to stay organized and keep your particular group on task.
Can I just ask, does Microsoft have a similar combination? I mean, to do the Google Groups and all of that, you have to use a Google email, correct?
No, you can invite people that do not have a Gmail or a Google account. I would say, to me personally, it's easier whenever you do have a Gmail account, because then you can actually see a little bit more of the features. Whereas I feel like whenever people that have, a Yahoo account, for example, or other accounts, it can be a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about your group list. I mean, you can do that in Outlook. I mean, I have email groups in Outlook.
Not
So I was just
everybody
curious.
has Microsoft.
Right.
Not everybody's a Windows user, and that's
Right,
why.
but most people I know are.
Well, I'm not.
Well, I think that you have to do what's best for you and your group. So, there's plenty of tools. That's the great thing, is that by having a variety of tools, you can choose the one that you feel the most comfortable with. This is just an example of a particular tool. So if you like using Microsoft Outlook, I say use it.
Okay, all right. I was just
Yeah.
curious. Thank you.
I was going to say, I have had some challenges when someone's email address is through Outlook. Is that right? It's through Outlook or Microsoft Teams. It has been really difficult to add them to a Google group. We've run into a lot of troubles with that. So I think Microsoft and Google have kind of like this competition going on there, and they try to make it hard to work together. I don't know. That's unfortunate for those of us that are users. So I'd say that, but there are other so if you have Yahoo has groups too, I think. So there are other group types of email. And then Cinnamon, I just want to say there was a a chat. There was a question in the chat from Bill. I don't know if you saw that.
No, let's open up the chat.
He says, so what does Google Groups do?
So Google, I would say the short answer is the Google Groups allows you to form a group and you can communicate with just that group. So if you wanted to share your calendar with the group, or that everybody can use it, they can use that calendar that's within the group. If you want to email a message to that group, as Bonnie was saying, you don't have to worry about whether or not you forgot to add somebody to the email, or that if somebody didn't want to get that communication again and you're copying and pasting the last email, and then people are like, I told you I didn't want to be on that email list anymore. It's a more real-time, accurate way to communicate with your group.
Yeah.
And it's just a great way to collaborate.
And I would just say the other thing is and then it keeps everything that you've ever sent to the group, it stores that for you. So if you were like, oh, what did my green leaders say to me 2 months ago? You can go into the list and find that email from 2 months ago, and it'll be saved in that group. And I will say when you send your messages, you can make them pretty. It allows you to add images to it, and you can also put attachments on there. So it's a great way to send stuff out to everybody all at once.
Yep, as Elizabeth said, instead of remembering 15 email addresses, you just need to know one, which if you're like me, I'm very forgetful. So it's a great way to make sure that you kind of stay on top of things. So it's 7:40, so I want to keep moving along. So the next tool that I'm going to talk about is Google Drive. So over here, these little dots, like I said, you can find Google Drive. And
You got to share.
oh yeah, that's right. Thank you. Forgot to share again. I took it off. Okay, let me back up. So whenever you're in my particular Gmail account, I click on these little dots, and then I find this little triangle right here for a drive to find a Google Drive. So Google Drive is where you can create, store, and share files that can be accessed virtually anywhere on multiple devices, and you can share it with other people to kind of like facilitate collaboration. So let's see. This right here, I have it open already. So this right here is the document that I'm going to share with you guys a little bit later that kind of shows you the different tools that we're talking about right here. But this is one that I have, and then I can share it with other people. And you can see that Kolya up here, she's an editor. So there's different parameters that you can use. Let me go back to that, sorry. Whenever you're adding people. So I can change her, she can be a viewer. If you don't want for the person to make changes to the document, they can be a commenter where they can't necessarily make changes to the document, but they're allowed to comment on the document, or the editor has full access to the document. I'm the owner because I'm the one that created it, but like, let's say that I'm leaving and we want to keep this document, but I want to change ownership. So I can also change who the owner is. I can also delete the document. So you can see that I have different documents over here. I was planning a family reunion, so there were different things that I was looking at. And you can see that there's some things for the trust that I've saved in this particular account. So it's just a way that you can have a document. It can be I would say that the documents is kind of like Word right here, Google Docs, we'll talk about that later. Google Sheets is kind of like Excel. And then Google Forms, we're going to talk about as well. Google Slides is like PowerPoint.
Can you go over the link again?
Which one?
Because there's the sharing link, because there's the thing at the bottom is another thing that people can modify. So where you were setting up the link, like go to your doc and then the share button.
Oh, okay, hold on. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah, so the top part is the loading up for, you can define editors and things, but the bottom link is changeable too, that right there.
So again, I can copy the link.
If you open that change to anyone, open that up, then you can, anyone with the link can view, edit, or comment.
Yes, and then you can copy the link and you can email it through groups or through your own email. Just paste the link whenever after you copy it, paste it. You
So
also
you
want to
could
make sure
have
that you
editors already defined, but you can also allow anyone to view, comment, or edit with that portion.
yes. So, but remember, anybody that has the link. So part of the challenge that is, do you want other people to share the link with other people? How many people are going to be open to it? So to me, if you're going to use this share link function, I would keep it as a viewer or a commenter. I think for people that you are okay with editing, I would physically put in their email address just to be sure that, you know, you don't lose the document, somebody doesn't accidentally delete it. That's one thing about, I would say Google that's not that great is it's hard to recover your document.
Yeah, and the nice thing about comments is that you can indicate the changes you want to make. It's like tracking in a Word document. So you can put that in, and then whoever's the owner of the document can decide, well, yes, I want to keep that, and they can accept the change or not. So that's a great feature with using comment if you want to make sure it doesn't get altered permanently.
I have a question.
Okay.
Can you talk about folders within the My Drive? Can you have different folders set up within My Drive?
Yes. So over here, when you click new, there should be a folder. Oh, there it is. You can create a folder and you can title that folder.
Do you know if you could have specific security on that folder instead of the document?
I think you can, whenever you share that particular folder. But you have to remember that if you share the entire folder, that all of the contents in that folder will have the same, if you're sharing the folder. Yeah. So to me, it's better to share the doc. Well, it depends if you want different levels of security.
I'm thinking if I have a folder meeting minutes, for example, and I don't want anybody to edit it, just to view it, then instead of having security on each document, I could have it on the folder.
Yes, you could, unless there's somebody that needs to make an edit to the minutes. So, you know, would you want somebody, like if somebody's, like if you have like all the list of people that attended, but you forgot somebody's name, how would you, that would be the only thing I would say. That's just an example of somebody that came, maybe they were forgot to be added to the minutes.
I guess if you had a recording site, you know, you could have a couple of folks be editors or.
Yeah, that would work. You can specify who can edit and who cannot.
Okay.
And you would definitely on your team want more than one person to have access to the folder, because if something happens to you, God forbid, you don't want everything locked because you're the only owner of that. So you want to definitely
what
make sure.
I was thinking of is not having the Gmail account not be an individual, but be the team. And that only one or two people, three people, you name it, would have the credentials of that user. Because you don't want it tied to one person, because God forbid that one person moves, gets away, you know, you want to have the credentials of the user, of the owner, be an organization, if you know what I mean. I mean, I wouldn't want it tied to my accounts, because if I choose to go away for 3 months and spend my summer in Italy, I would want the team to continue. So the co-chair would then be able to access our team's Gmail account. If that kind of makes sense to anybody.
Yeah, I think that you can go about it different ways. I think the only challenge with that is security, and just, you know, I mean, you have to, I would say, update the password frequently, the way if people, you know, rotate off of your particular ministry that you have or your group.
Because otherwise, if you have it tied to an individual, then the question becomes, when that individual goes off as chairperson and the next person comes in, how easy is it to now migrate all this information to that other individual's account, email account. And what if that individual doesn't have a Gmail account? It would be a lot easier, as you mentioned, if we kept, that's
Right.
where I'm kind of.
Right. So I would suggest that you have a president at St. Andrews by the Bay Gmail account. And then when the new president comes on, you give them the password that you used, and then they
change
take
it.
over that account and they change the password.
Right.
Right. And
That's
then
great.
that email account, the president at your church account, can live forever.
Right.
But you probably need to have more than one person knowing the password so they can share
Yes.
logging in.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
there are tools that you can put passwords in that,
Right.
you know,
Right.
because that's what we do. I belong to a lodge, and that's what we have. We use Google Drives and Google Forms continually, and it's not tied to an individual per se.
Mhm.
We do have one question from Liz Parker. And this is about a church getting a professional Google account so they can have documents owned by the church and not possession of any one member. I don't know if that's a fee for service or
I can answer that. Google, it is a fee. However, there may be, Google does allow nonprofits. So you could investigate that through Google, and they may waive the fee if your church currently doesn't have it. But a lot of times an organization may have it because if they have email, they may have already paid Google for the email.
yeah, that's true too. It's good to check that out first. Yeah. I also
Yeah,
had a-
I can tell you, we had my green team, we ran for 12 years and never used this, and we just started and it's great. So all of our minutes are saved in there, and everybody, but my synagogue's office set up the drive for us. They have drive, they just set up one just for the green team so that the green team just has access to that folder.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also see a question from Rose Schneider about creating folders if you're working on a number of different projects. That's a great idea. It's really there for you to organize how best it works for you. You can create, each folder could have its own name. You could have the pollinator garden folder. You could have the tree planting folder or the
Movie night.
movie.
Movie
Yeah,
night.
thank you, movie night folder. So yeah, that's a great idea.
Wonderful.
Okay.
There's a lot of things that you can
Yeah.
do with Google Drive. And like I said, you can come over here to where it says new. I'm still sharing, right? Yep. And you can create the folder that you want. You can also upload files and other folders from off of your computer or USB or whatever you're using. And then, like I said, these are the Google Docs is where it's kind of like the equivalent of a Word document. The really cool thing is, I don't know, Kolya, if you already have the one that we were working on together open, but let's say that Kolya wanted to make a change over here to Doodlepole, and I wanted to make a change over here to Gmail. I could start typing, and then she can be working on the document at the same time. So that's the difference, is you're not having to, okay, I edited my version of a particular document, and now I have to email it to everybody. And then, different people have different things that they want to add and change to it. And then we got to figure out how to do all of that. We can do that all at the same time. Or whenever the other person is ready for it, they can go ahead and make their changes or edits. So that's what I like about using this, is it's in real time. So we don't have much more time. So I'm just going to go to Google Forms real quick. So Google Forms is a great way to take a survey. Let's see. So whenever I go back to my Google Drive, you'll see that I personally used it to create a form for figuring out if people were interested in gathering for a family reunion. We hadn't had a family reunion in a little while, so I used it to do that. And then, so I want the people that were going to help me, I just asked for their contact information, and you can just add different features, different questions to it. So
Could you go back one step to show where the Google form
Oh,
was
okay.
selected? Yeah, because I think.
Okay,
folks
so
might
let's
not-
say you're in your Gmail account, come back over here. This is where everything is, the Google Apps. And like I said, if you don't see what you're looking for, click on more from Google. So here I can create the form. And the great thing about Google is that I didn't mention before is there are a lot of templates. So if you're not really sure where to start at and you don't want to create a blank form, you can come over here and just look through the templates. And you can start with the template, and then I'm just clicking on something. And then you can kind of like go in and make the edits and change what it says. So maybe you don't want the word anonymous. I'm just making up something. You can just change it. And then whenever you're ready to send it, let me go back to the one that I was working on. You can see the responses. So I had non-responses, the people that emailed me or that responded to the survey, and I can see what everybody said. So I get those results, their contact information, what people are interested in doing to help out with the for this particular example, the family reunion.
Come here.
So are there any questions? Because we're nearing the end of our time. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, the document that I showed you.
I have one question. On Google Docs, were there templates also?
Yes.
Okay. I don't need to see them. I just need to.
And I was just gonna say on the forms, you can look at the responses also as a spreadsheet too. You can look at individual responses all at once. So, and then you can create PDFs from that. So if like you're having to do a report on what you got, you can download it and then share it. It's really a really great tool.
Yeah.
That's one I didn't have responses for. But yes, so I just feel like Google is a great way to do and facilitate a lot of discussion amongst and collaboration among your group. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen because we're
fantastic. I'm just looking at questions. Someone said their favorite use of Google Docs is numerous people looking at the doc at the same time. Just like you said, everybody can be editing at the same time. And any other questions before we coming up on the hour here? Thank you so much, Cynamon. This was really, you knocked it out of the park. I think we really got a lot of good information to help our green teams organize and communicate with each other. Any other questions?
There's just one tool. So there's also Google Sheets, which is a spreadsheet, like it's Excel spreadsheets, but if you're like working on a budget or something for a grant application, you can share the sheet just like you could share a document. So you can all work on a spreadsheet together too.
Yeah, and these are great tools that we said earlier, mentioned that if you're working on a grant proposal, it's good for all eyes to be working on the same thing or able to see your draft and be able to offer comments on that. Okay.
It looks like we did have one more question from Liz Parker as well, asking, can you integrate a Google form into Zoom?
I don't know the answer to that question.
I don't either. Can you, Liz, could you say more about, I'm trying to envision what that would be.
No, you can't. You could put the link to the form into the chat and then people would have to open it up separately. Zoom has its own survey function, if I'm correct. You can do a poll in Zoom, but if you wanted something to feed into Google, you'd have to just create your form and then put it in the chat and people could answer it that way.
Okay. Question.
We've been struggling with like voting on things virtually.
There's a tool that you can use, you can do like a live real time. I have to find the name of it. Like I told you, I have a really bad memory.
But you could do a Google form and share it and vote that way. So if you're like, do we want to do a movie night or a book discussion, right? You could do that in a Google form and they could, but in Zoom, a simple thing like that, you could just do in Zoom and do it in real time. Otherwise, you could just create the form and make a link.
Yeah, I mean, we do this during the trainings. We do conduct a poll, but, and that's anonymous. So that's one way of conducting a poll in Zoom, for,
Are there
asking
two-
questions.
Are there
So-
tutorials online for these apps?
Yeah, your friend there is going to be YouTube. If you go to YouTube and Google, how do I set up a Google form? There's all kinds of people on there that'll show you step by step how to do that. So YouTube
Right.
is your friend.
All right.
I mean, Google has them too, but I think YouTube, you have people that show you in real time, and they're
Right.
just,
That's great. Thanks.
And in the document, I also have some links to help you whenever it comes to the different tools, like frequently asked questions and how to set up that particular app that you're working with.
Yeah, that's great, Cinnamon. We'll make sure that that'll be posted with the recording, and it'll be sent out with everyone who signed up, so everybody can get this information. Well, without any further ado, that was just great. I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us, Cinnamon. Thank you. I'm going to go back to my screen, and I'll have to get permission from Natalie to share my screen again.
Okay, you should be able to share now.
Okay, great, wonderful. All right. Let's see, it was here. And we get the back in the slide. And, see that? Everybody see that? Great.
Yep.
All right. So I want to reiterate that this webinar is part of our Faithful Green Leaders training. It's continuing education. And of course, all are welcome to attend them. But if you have not been to a Green Leader training, please go to our website and check them out. The calendar is there when our next training is occurring. And we also offer resources for existing teams to help build and grow your team. So we're here to assist you and help you be engaged effectively and take action to care for God's beautiful creation. I do want to say, please go to the link in the chat because we value your feedback. It really helps us plan for future webinars in terms of the content of this one or content of future webinar topics that you'd like to tell us about. So please do that. And if you're going to stay on for after the webinar, you can just open the link and leave it there in your web browser, and you can finish taking the survey afterwards. So please do that, and we'll look forward to your feedback. And so I'm going to close out with this prayer for going forth. Let's all take a deep breath. May God, who gardens the galaxies, fueling starfire, watering the world, greening the earth, may this God guide you, guard you, and give you growth. Amen. All right. Well, we can stop recording now.